good old Israel. And obviously, this is not cheery stuff, but let's look at how the public feels about this.
I have to say, I'm actually just shocked that it's that low, and especially with young people. Like, I don't love that poll. It kind of bums me out.
Yeah, but I think
50%. Like what?
A big part of that poll is just that people who aren't paying attention to this closely are polled in that. And people who aren't watching the news even regularly are polled in that. So they're not even getting the propaganda side of it. They're just, they don't know. And a lot of people just think, well, our government would let us know. Like, we're not doing something wrong.
Israel has a right to protect itself. And
the country, my country, 'tis of thee, God bless America. We're not the bad guys, and we would never be the bad guys. So that's like 25% of people right off the bat are going to think we're not the bad guys.
Yeah, and I mean, half of the people on the one side that they were Biden voters, so like their propensity would be to support what he does, and obviously, I mean, I think genocide is such a strong designation for what's happening that maybe you're right for people to actually say that it feels weightier than, I don't know. I thought it was much higher. Right. Actually,
well, if it's a genocide, we have to actually do something about it. Like, we can't actually fund genocide, right? So, to me, that's a good number. I mean, that's
okay. All right.
I look at it that way.
Glass half full.
Yeah.
I'm only seeing the people
half full
who didn't
of poisoned water.
That's right.
This
is Biden comms saying it's a failure and missteps in the communication of U.S. policy. I mean, it is just amazing that they always come back to that. The missteps were in the communication of the policy, not the policy.
Always. And then, if they really believed that, they'd fire their comms people. But it's the same stupid comms people out in the public that they had for 10 years. Yet for Biden, you got Simone Sanders, who's just terrible, complete sellout. She's probably one of the biggest moles in Bernie's campaign.
Just awful. I think we saw the ICJ is now trying to get back like an emergency meeting because they are saying that Israel is in breach of the ICJ order on Gaza. I think it's urgent request for additional measures to stop the genocide. This is what's happened since on January 26th, the ICJ ordered Israel to take all measures in its power to prevent acts of genocide. Since then, and I mean every single day, hundreds of Palestinians have been slaughtered every single day since then.
Yeah, I think that's adds up to like 3,000-ish right there.
Yeah. Well, this ended on the 12th of February. And at that point, at least 2,255 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza.
I did the math. I should have read further. Look, they were called out on this. Our own government was spinning the ICJ ruling as like, well, they didn't call it a genocide, but they expressly called for actions to be taken or it would be genocide. And for us to be funding it in the face of this and not investigating this at a bare minimum is just the number one piece of evidence that we are complicit in this genocide.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like that same day, I'm going to stick with it, but it was that same day we cut off funding to UNRWA. I mean,
and since then, so UNRWA is the largest humanitarian source of aid that Palestine has, and all the other groups. And the spin is these other groups can pick up the slack that UNRWA has. Well, UNRWA is going to be without funds in March. As of March, they're going to have to dissolve basically at this point. But all the other AIDS group came together and said, we don't have the capabilities remotely or the reach remotely that UNRWA has. So you are, by unfunding UNRWA, committing genocide.
without an investigation, taking at their word the Israeli government, who's lied about everything and been caught in one lie after another. They are now going to do a collective punishment because of the 12 people who, then it was whittled down to 4.
8 or 4.
8, 4, whatever, that they fired all of them. UNRWA did right away anyway. Like, what else are you supposed to do? But, you know, so here we have the Senate Foreign Aid bill right here. The bill the Senate just voted 66 to 33 to advance, bans UNRWA funding. It also makes exception, allowing U.S. to set aside more arms for Israel, and removes requiring the president to notify Congress. It imposes stricter scrutiny over Gaza aid. The only 2 Dems to vote no were Bernie Sanders and Jeff Merkley. There was that whole speech that guy gave. I don't know who it was, that senator, how horrible it was. And then he went ahead and voted for it anyway. 2 people on the, I mean, you know, Bernie caucuses with them, but Stephen Semler, friend of the show, funding provides unconditional military aid to a state acting with the intent to destroy Palestinians in Gaza, $10 billion, allows Biden to stockpile an indefinite amount of weapons in Israel, which Israel can draw from. Funding is to replenish U.S. stocks. Sponsors U.S. retaliatory airstrikes in Iraq, Syria, and Yemen for attacks protesting Israel's war, which is what they should be doing, and defunds UNRWA completely, the main provider of humanitarian aid. So this is what they rushed. They even got together during the Super Bowl. It was so important to them to pass this that they wheeled TVs in on Sunday. You know, we're not leaving until we get this done in the Senate. Remember how Chuck Schumer sent everybody home when it was time to go through the federal judges? Said, let's just pass them all for Trump. Everybody wants to go on vacation. But this was important. They have to stay to make sure that they continue to fund this genocide.
Yeah. And I don't know. I have so many problems with it. Obviously, everybody does. But like, we have a ton of leaders in the Senate and the House with dual citizenship, which to me, that's an awkward position to be in this situation. And when Chuck Schumer is the leader of the party and he's got literal half loyalty, I mean, I don't want to come down on this.
Wait, is he really a dual citizen?
Yeah, Schumer.
Really? I didn't know that.
I believe.
Are you doing an anti-Semitism?
Like, I'm doing an
divided
anti-Semitism.
loyalty.
At least it's a man. All right. I'm attacked with misogyny too, but I think we have like 25 people
really
in the House that have dual citizenship. You know, and because it's allowed, of course, if you're Israel, you're going to promote anyone who's going to be loyal to you. And when you, I don't know, it's just you have to call it into question on some level. Like,
well, listen, when Blinken first went over to Israel after October 7th, he said, you know, as a Jew, I am here standing with you. And I do think that there is something about that it takes. I mean, I guess, you know, a lot of women say like, well, as a woman, and they talk about domestic violence or Roe v. Wade. And I mean, I understand that, but I also think it takes away what should be a dispassionate, you know, unbiased way of pursuing policy.
I mean, but this is at the same time they're censuring Rashida Tlaib.
Right. For having a flag.
For having a flag of her country. Meanwhile, you can be in our government literally equally split on both countries. And I don't want to fault anyone for where they're from, but like we're talking about someone also taking a shit ton of money from that country. Yeah. You know, the farther up you go in politics, the more money you're probably taking from J Street and APAC.
Would not have allowed like South Africans during apartheid to proudly, you know, declare that they love their home country that's engaging in apartheid. You know, there have been so many awful things, and sometimes, you know, I've gotten so tired of hearing about October 7th, which is horrible because I know that there are innocent people who are still being held hostage, who probably were killed by all the bombing from Israelis. This incursion into Rafah, the one safe place where they told 1.4 million people to evacuate to, intense they've been bombing.
We're down to one hospital, one major hospital left,
which
they
they're
bombed
now,
the share of them now.
Yeah,
they are in the process of it.
There's testimony now that they're bringing Israeli civilians in to watch Palestinian prisoners be tortured, naked. It's like a Palestinian torture zoo where they bring them in, where they can watch what's happening. That is a war crime. The other thing that, as we always hear about the Israeli hostages and bring them home, Israel is holding, again, I thought it was more than this, but 3,484 Palestinians hostage, known as administrative detainees. They have not been told why they were taken. They have not been charged with anything. Their imprisonment is renewable indefinitely. Israel is holding 32 times as many hostages as Hamas. And we never, ever talk about bring those hostages home.
And the way this renewable detention is set up, you don't have a lawyer in this situation. You don't have legal counsel. What happens is the person, whoever issued the charge, has the free right to renew it without there's no third
They're not
party.
Protected by any,
there's
any
no
judicial
protection that any of this has any
system.
merit whatsoever.
Right. Just indefinitely. And they're kids. Some of them are just kids. I mean, it's late now, but we have a video of these, I guess I didn't even put it in there, whatever, of, kids just being taken from the West Bank, by the way, and they're not being labeled they're not even trying to say like, oh, he's a Hamas soldier, it's in the West Bank. So that's not where Hamas is. And the video actually, I think, was from 2020 or 2022. And it's just kids because, you look at a soldier, an IDF soldier, cross-eyed, or, okay, throw a rock at him, but you're a kid.
Right. And when there was an interview this week where Bibi said that the civilian to combatant death ratio was 1-to-1. 1-to-1. And it's like 30-to-1. I mean, probably higher than that. So, and that's just taken as a fact by, like, people don't challenge him on this. It's just like, what are we doing?
Because they said everybody's Hamas. Well, 32,000 people were killed. Well, they were all Hamas.
Yeah, no, that's what they said. He in his own words, it was like 20,000 plus people were combatants.
Yeah. And the October 7th, and again, like, I don't want to minimize anybody's death, but it is just so evil that we keep coming back to that one day when every day since then, Palestinians have been dealing with that and worse. And obviously for decades before. But that was 2-to-1. That, Hamas killed, they're saying, I mean, now we're never going to find out how many of those people were actually killed by the IDF, right. But let's just take them at their word.
Horrific day, half the people were probably military.
1,200 people were killed, and they say 400 of them were IDF soldiers or former soldiers. So right. That means that's 2-to-1, right? 800 civilians, 400. Right. So yeah, and I think with Israel, what they're doing, they're saying it's like 100-to-1 or something. I mean, it's crazy.
It's by far the highest fatality rate for civilians in any war in history.
And we're funding it, and we're watching it as it happens. I mean, that's the thing that, like, that never again, people would say, well, people in the US didn't know for the first couple of years that there were extermination camps in Germany. If we had known, there was a lot of that kind of stuff. We are watching this play out in real time on our phones.
I would say a third of the country is super aware of all this, like right. Really dialed into it, and they have no doubt whatsoever. And that's probably about a third of the country, in my opinion.
But also the world, like the world is seeing it.
The world has no doubt. I'm talking about just us.
And, one of the things I was listening to Ali Abu Nima on Chapo Trap House last week, and he was great. So, I mean, he's just so well-spoken and articulate and sort of still able to find not humor, but like moments of being able to just be a normal person while he's reporting on all of this. And, he said, well, it's my first genocide. So we're just kind of doing the best we can right now. But one of the things he said about the poet and scholar, Rafit, whose last name I can't remember right now, but, if I must die, who was killed, was one of the objectives or projects that he had with his students was learn English so you can talk, it's the language that, it's entertainment. It's how we, so that you can communicate with the world and let them know what's happening here. And in that way, it's very successful that it's being communicated so well to everybody. And yet, as you said, there are no consequences.
There has been no change in Israel's actions whatsoever from the start of this. And they've already made the place unlivable, unreturnable. And so.
All right. There's a lot more that we had to get to, but just because this is timely this week, and then we can skip the rest and move on because it's so late. But the calling out the media, I just think is important. And this is stuff that just happened this week. So this was the Associated Press. Health officials say more than 12,300 Palestinian minors have been killed in Israel's war on Hamas in Gaza. Not children, babies, minors. Here's another one. Displaced Gazans wonder where to go as Israel vows to keep pushing south. That's one way to frame it by the New York Times. Asal Rad does her edit.
As we know, Rafah is the southest point there is. It's on the Egyptian border, the Rafah crossing,
where they were directed to go for safety.
It's a barren wasteland where you have nothing to live on other than tents and humanitarian aid. And there's nowhere else to go. And they're attacking now Rafah
and preventing humanitarian aid from getting in there. And Egypt is now building a border safety zone. But what that's doing is allowing the ethnic cleansing. I mean, that is what that will do. That allows, Mexican President Sisi, Egypt's president is now building this, a safe city in Egypt on the border, which will help Israel complete its ethnic cleansing. Okay. Another one, this little girl who we all sort of followed, the 6-year-old who was killed along with her family, but when they were in the car and her whole family had been killed, her mother had sent her with her cousins and that family. She called the Red Crescent to be saved. And there was a long conversation and it's really heartbreaking, but this is how it was then reported. Not that she was killed, not killed by Israel. It's, found dead. So what that does, of course, is take away all the blame from the people who perpetrated the murder. Another one, found dead. And that same week, Ukraine war, baby killed in Russian strike on Kharkiv hotel. So we know the BBC knows how to frame it differently. Hind Rajab found dead.
They're all choices.
Yeah.
We know that the media is like CNN got caught. I mean, basically they're reviewing all their stories through the IDF. The IDF is greenlighting facts for you. Reporters are not allowed into Israel without a guide taking them to specific places. And then that they're subject to showing their footage to the IDF for approval.
Censors. Yeah.
So,
and they didn't come out with that. Like if they had revealed that up front, but it had, as you said, somebody else got the memo and revealed it to the world, because they would have just gone on. I mean, it's, of course, that's what they do with the State Department. I mean, they don't say anything that's not approved, but the corporate media propaganda is really to blame for the situation we all find ourselves in. It is disgusting. Okay. It's been 2 hours. It is so late. on the East Coast. Pat, what else? Do you have anything to say?
I mean, I don't know if you want to call this a positive on Israel to end on, but stray dogs are attacking the soldiers. So
we got orcas in the sea and stray dogs on land. We need all the help we can get. Okay, I wanted to just make sure, because last time we missed it. Did we? Yes, I think. Oh, did we talk? Lynn, we have a new member. Lynn B, thank you for becoming a member. Thank you to our gifted memberships and our super chats. And wait, what am I doing? Sorry. There's lots of stuff. Super stickers, super chats. You guys are amazing. Thank you for bearing with us when we moved to Thursday just for today. We'll be back on Wednesday next week at 5. But thank you for letting me go see my son play baseball yesterday. I appreciate it. And that's it. We're going to go out on our one good thing. Pat, you have anything to say?
Love you guys. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate everyone still. As depressing as it gets, it'll be worse if we don't fight. And let's get some wins. We're getting some wins, so let's keep getting some more. But I like this song. Lila sent it to me, and it's timely-ish, but it's sort of positive, but sort of emotional. I don't know. If it moved me a little bit, that says a lot, because I'm kind of cold-hearted here. So let's end on this.
Bye, everybody. Keep punching up. Cheers.
Nice to meet you. Where you been? I can show you some terrible things. Illegal weapons, burning skin. And look at this and you think, oh my God, look at that state. All the folks they've displaced. They want bombs, so we pay. Hey. Your money funding crimes all over the Middle East. Ain't it funny how they lie? You know they don't care about you, so hey, let's be friends. We'll fight like hell till this shit ends. Grab your bullhorn and take my hand. We can make the bad guys scared on the weekend.